Iain, good afternoon to you. I'm delighted you're joining us, Iain. How relieved are you, first things first, to be talking with me today after getting a win in this Premier League, and it's so tough to get a win in this league?
It is, Jim. As everyone knows, thank you very much for having me on this afternoon. Everyone knows there's 20 good teams in this league, so every point that's gained is something that has to be fought for very much. So it was a good night for us last night.
You've got Cardiff, Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, Man City. Where do you think Palace will be sitting maybe come New Year's Day?
I think we're looking for forward progress and momentum, Jim. I think it's difficult to set specific targets. I think you try and pick up the points where you can. Home games are very important. I think Selhurst Park, I've been coming to Selhurst Park for 10 years as an opponent and found it a difficult place to get results. And I think everyone acknowledges that the likely success is going to come more from home games than away. So I think as long as we keep focusing on picking up points wherever they're available and trying to keep in contact with the rest of the division, so that come January we're in with a shout of continuing to move up the table.
Just as you're speaking, Iain, we're looking at the fixtures. I mean, there is no easy game, but you know that, don't you? Everybody knows that.
Of course. Absolutely. That's what the Premier League is, Jim.
Sure thing. Now, of course, Steve Parish brought you in November. And curiously, your first job, Iain, was a tough one. You to appoint a new manager. How would you describe the process of bringing in Tony Pulis? What was that like?
It wasn't my decision at all, Jim. I was asked by Steve to come on board, and I was flattered and honoured that he gave me the opportunity to come and work for Palace. I was very impressed by the way that Steve presented the owner's vision for the club and where the club stands at the moment. They've made enormous progress over the 3 years since the club came out of administration in 2010. Obviously, included in that has been promotion to the Premier League. One or two things have happened since promotion to the Premier League that Steve felt the need to bring myself in here, and then I helped and kind of advised Steve along the way and the other owners along the way to appointing the manager. But it was always a process led by Steve.
So yours was in an advisory capacity, if you like. You made the process run along as smoothly as you could.
Yeah, Steve had already met a number of candidates before I came on board, and then Steve and I and Phil Alexander, our chief executive, met further candidates and did second and third interviews, and are really pleased with the way the process went and the result of it.
So what kind of relationship do you hope to have with Tony then? You're sporting director, he's manager. How does that work?
We work very closely together. Obviously, he's been here 10 days. I've been here about 3 weeks now, so we're both still finding our feet. But I've already got a very good relationship with Tony. My job is to take a lot of the heat and the pressure from him, to deal with agents, to deal with contracts, to deal with forward planning for players who are coming out of contract, to deal with implementing our under-21s into the pro squad, liaising between the academy and the pro staff, and keeping an eye on looking after the long-term interests of the club and helping the manager to put the best team he can on the field every Saturday.
But of course, Iain, you had a great relationship with Malky Mackay at Cardiff. He was speaking to me before this. He describes you as a class act. So, I mean, that was good to come from that and bring what you learned in that relationship to Palace.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic opportunity for me here at Palace. I had 8 good years of working with Malky at Watford and at Cardiff, and still have a fantastic relationship with him, and still admire the work he's doing at Cardiff fantastically. But it's an interesting opportunity for me to move on with the next stage of my career. It's flattering that Malky and a number of other people said some very nice things about me after I left Cardiff a couple of months ago. It's brought about an added pressure that I now need to deliver on people saying nice things about me.
Well, they sure do, but I know your departure from Cardiff, Iain, is somewhat sensitive. I'm sure you don't want to go into that, but are things improving? Might that relationship rebuild itself? Because no one wants to fall out in football. No,
I've got lots of enormous good friends still at Cardiff. It'll be a fantastic opportunity to see them when we play them at Selhurst Park on Saturday. I've played a role in signing most of the players they have, and most of the staff there are people that I've worked with for a number of years. So there's some very good friends that will be friends of mine long after we've all moved on to different jobs.
Iain, I was going to say that in terms of recruitment, you played a blinder. You brought in Stephen Cocker, Gary Medell, Cornelius. I mean, these were top players coming to a club like Cardiff. That was no mean feat.
Yeah, it involved a lot of work and a lot of planning, Jim. Going into the summer, after we'd achieved promotion from the Championship, we had quite a clear plan of what we wanted to do to improve the squad. We were supported by the owners, and we were pleased with the outcome of the players that we managed to bring in.
So, you know what I'm going to ask you, Iain. January is approaching. What is Steve Parish saying to you about January? Are you and he going to be working closely together to bring in new players for Tony Pulis in your ongoing effort to stay in the top flight?
Of course, Jim. It's become one of the most talked about kind of moments of the season, the dawning of January around the corner. And clubs in positions like ourselves, obviously, are obliged to try and look at ways that we can tweak and improve the squad. Tony and I have already had a number of meetings about ways in which we think that's possible. Steve's very much part of that conversation as well. So there's a number of important decisions for us to make, areas of the squad that we've already identified that probably need strengthening, and changes that we're going to be making. So it's as ever with these things, it's an ongoing process. You can't always be certain about what's going to be available to you, but we've got quite a good idea of what needs to be done, and we're cracking on with it already.
Just to finish with Iain, in your short time there, what kind of effort do you feel is being made by everyone at Palace to stay up, to stay in the Premier League? Because that, Iain, is where everybody wants to be, in this Premier League.
It's a fantastic club, Jim. I've been so impressed and enthused by the quality of people and the enthusiasm and the work ethic of the people in all parts of the club. Since I came here three weeks ago, there's a great togetherness and a great willingness and understanding that there's an enormous task in front of all of us, but a belief that by everyone pulling together in the right direction and remaining as one, that we can achieve the initial aim, which is to remain in this league. And as you say, it's the place where every professional wants to be measured. So I'm sure that with the right combination of factors, we can do that.
Iain, terrific. We wish you well. So grateful to you for joining us today live this lunchtime on Sky Sports News. Good day for Palace fans. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.